female, 18 years old, was run over by a car when I was 6. I was in a coma for a month, and one of my legs was crushed beyond repair and had to be amputated. While I was unconscious, my parents couldn't stop arguing, each blaming the other, saying the other was supposed to be looking after me. I woke up to discover my leg missing and my parents separated. They later got divorced. My mom had primary custody of us, while we only got to see our dad every other weekend. I have 2 brothers, aged 4 and 7 at the time. They both blamed me for the divorce, though as they got over the shock, they realized it was unfair and apologized to me. I discovered recently that my mom has continued to secretly blame me. I have a prosthetic leg, and with it, I am able to be independent, including taking the public bus to school by myself. On the journey to school in the morning, it's always very busy, and some people have to stand. Most people take this bus every day and know me, and someone always offers me their seat if there are none available when I get on. I can't stand because it's hard for me to keep balance. This morning, there was an empty seat in the section reserved for disabled and elderly people, so I took it. The lady I sat down next to, she looked to be in her late 50s maybe, told me that I shouldn't be sitting there, that I was young and healthy, so I should stand. Also, her friend was getting on in a few stops, and she was an old lady who deserved the seat more than me. I chose not to dignify her with a response, though my younger brother and some kids from my school who heard her were trying to tell her that I did need it. Her friend got on the bus, and the lady told me to get up. I didn't move. My schoolmates continued to tell her I needed it, and my brother told me to lift up my trousers so she would see. I told him I wouldn't. This was, sadly, not the first time I was harassed on public transport, and I was done with this BS. I know I have a right to stay in that seat, and not everyone is able to visually prove their disability, so I refused to do so. The bus driver got involved and told her to stop harassing me or she would have to get off. She would not, so the driver made her get off. Her friend was not made to get off. She'd listened to my schoolmates and tried to calm her friend down. When I told the story to my mom, she said I was rude and should have given up my seat. She said that I wasn't born with my disability. I ended up like this because I was stupid and reckless. It is true that I ran into the road without looking. The driver of the car couldn't stop. It wasn't his fault. He waited with me until an ambulance came and even wrapped his jumper around my wound to stop the bleeding. I was unconscious for this, but witnesses saw it. It was my fault, but I was also 6 years old, and I think I've been punished enough. My mom kept on going. It was like a floodgate had opened. She told me if I hadn't been so stupid, I would still have my leg and she would still have a husband. Now, I have felt guilty over the years and thought the same thing to myself. Then I'd reassure myself that no one else blames me. My brothers only did because they were young and in shock. Dad even said so himself, that the divorce was none of us kids' fault. I just couldn't believe that I had actually heard those words come out of her mouth. Mom immediately clamped her hand over her mouth, then started apologizing and said she didn't mean it. I didn't want to listen to her apologies. I was very hurt by what she had told me. I went to my room crying, and I decided I didn't want to be here, so I packed my suitcase and called my dad. He told me he'd be right there. After I finished packing, I heard shouting, so I went to the front door where Dad was really laying into Mom. Mom was crying. When she saw my suitcase, she told me I couldn't just leave, but I told her I'm 18 and can do as I wish. I'm at my dad's house now, and now that I've calmed down, I feel pretty rotten about making my mom cry and then just walking out on her. Am I the idiot? Update. Wow, I can't believe the response to this. Thank you all for commenting, and thank you to everyone who has sent me supportive messages. There isn't really any news. I'm still at my dad's, and I haven't spoken to my mom yet. She has tried to call me, but I didn't answer. I don't feel like speaking to her right now. I sent her a text asking her to give me some time, and she hasn't called back again. I've noticed a lot of people making assumptions about what happened when I had my accident. I don't think either of my parents is to blame for it. Here's what happened. Mom and Dad were both in the house while my brothers and I were playing in our fenced front garden. My older brother and I were allowed to leave the garden to play at the houses of other children on our street. We weren't allowed to leave the street, and we weren't allowed to play in it either, as long as we asked first. We had been taught how to cross the road safely, But as we live on a quiet street with little traffic, we stupidly felt safe, often forgot to look both ways. The street we live on is a small side street with a dead end. The only cars are those belonging to residents or their visitors, so it isn't a busy street. A friend of mine lived across the street, and I saw her arriving home with her mom. She called me over to play, so I asked my mom, who said yes. I darted across the road from in between two parked cars. I was only looking towards my friend's house, a few doors down on the right, and not to the left, where there was a car almost right on top of me. There was no time for the driver to stop. I can only remember up to the point I ran into the road and my friend's mom screaming my name, so the rest of the story is secondhand information from the witnesses, my brothers, my friend, her mom, and their next-door neighbor. The driver was the adult son of a couple who live at the end of the street. He was a student still living at home. I think he was around 20 at the time. Witnesses estimated that he was going about 20 miles per hour, which is the speed limit on our street. The two adult witnesses told the police exactly what happened and made sure to make it clear that the driver wasn't at fault, so he didn't get into any trouble. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. None of the accident was your fault. One of your parents should have been watching you, and it was their own guilt that caused the divorce. And that nosy old lady deserved to get kicked off the bus. But I would have loved to see her face if you had popped off your leg in front of her. Comment 2. Not the idiot your mom is a piece of shoot. She cares about what could have been more than the daughter she has in the moment. She needs to work on herself before she can claim to be your mother again. Comment 3. She is the reason she is divorced. I suspect that your dad would have loved to stay married if it was not for how she acted. And still acts. Now, for the update. So it's been insane these past 2 weeks. First off, moving in with my dad has been a whirlwind of emotions. But honestly, it's been a lot more peaceful than I expected. What I didn't see coming was the bombshell my dad dropped on me a couple of days after I moved in. Turns out, he's been in touch with the driver who hit me all those years ago. Apparently, the guy has been riddled with guilt and has been trying to make amends ever since. Dad never told me because he didn't want to upset me more. The driver, let's call him Mike, actually reached out to me via a letter. He explained how the accident haunted him, how he never forgave himself, and how he's been volunteering with disability advocacy groups as a way to cope and contribute positively. It's been emotional processing that, but it also brought some weird sense of closure I didn't know I needed. But that's not even the half of it. Last week, I got a call from a lawyer. Remember how my brothers apologized to me for siding with our mom? Well, they didn't just stop there. They've been doing some digging and found out that the hospital where I was treated might have mishandled my care. It's looking like the leg amputation might have been avoidable. We're talking potential medical malpractice here, which just blows my mind. I'm not sure how to feel about it yet, but my brothers are furious and have been advocating for me to pursue legal action. My relationship with my mom has been rocky, to put it mildly. After I left, she started a smear campaign against my dad and me, telling family members and anyone who would listen that we abandoned her. It's been tough dealing with the gossip and the judgment from relatives. However, some of my extended family have reached out to me privately to offer support, saying they never agreed with how my mom treated me. Then, there's this guy I met at a local support group for amputees. We hit it off, and he's become a good friend over these past weeks. He's been through a lot of the same experiences, and talking with him has helped me to feel less alone in all this. So, that's the update. Life's been throwing curveballs nonstop, but I'm handling them the best I can. Thanks to everyone who's been sending supportive messages and advice. It means the world to me right now. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot at all. You're dealing with a lot, and it's important to surround yourself with positive influences. The fact that Mike reached out to you shows a lot of character on his part, and it's great that you found closure through his actions. Your mom's behavior is her own issue, not yours. You're doing great by focusing on the support you do have and moving forward. Comment 2. You're the idiot for not taking your brother's advice seriously. They're looking out for you, and if there was medical malpractice that led to your amputation, you deserve justice and compensation. It may be difficult to consider, but you owe it to yourself to at least explore the possibility. Ignoring their concern might mean missing out on an opportunity to address a grave injustice. Comment 3. Not the idiot for how you're handling your complex family dynamics. It's incredibly mature to appreciate the support from your dad and your new friend instead of getting bogged down by your mom's actions. Smear campaigns are tough, and it's admirable how you're not letting it get to you. Also, pursuing legal action is a personal choice, and no one should pressure you into it if you're not ready. Now, for the next story. I married my husband 2 years ago. He has 2 kids, a 24-year-old female and a 22-year-old male. He had a very nasty divorce from their mom that was fought out over the course of years. Part of the reason for the marriage ending was she had a drug problem and blew through their savings and was running up credit cards he didn't know about to pay for it. The divorce finalized when the youngest was 16. She wanted the house in the divorce, which was a big part of the fight. She ended up getting it. She immediately moved in her addict boyfriend and another couple they used with, and the house ended up getting destroyed and falling into foreclosure, and they then proceeded to squat in it and had to be forcibly removed. Because my husband and his ex ended up also having to file bankruptcy, he had been living in a friend's basement when I met him due to his credit being wrecked. Fast forward, we are married, he moves into my house, got a prenuptial agreement, he can't be on the mortgage due to his credit anyways. His ex and kids are living with grandparents. His kids and ex don't like me, they refer to me as that CT. But at this point, they are all adults, so I'm not going to force things with them. Grandparents recently had to sell their home, and they are now living with their mom's friends. They asked if they could move in with us, and I said no. Both got angry and started telling me that this was their dad's home, and that makes this their family home too, and it wasn't up to me if they could live there or not. They started spouting off every insult they could think of. I interrupted them and told them it, in fact, was not their family home. And if they were looking for their family home, they need to go talk to their mom because she chopped it up and put it up her nose. And that wasn't my problem. A huge part of the reason I don't want them here is that their mom has since squatted multiple places, forcing roommates to have to threaten her with eviction to get her out, and basically told the last one she would leave for a certain amount of money. The kids and her are very close, and I don't want that happening in my house. We also have reason to believe the oldest may be using. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your home. Your choice on whether you are willing to let adults live there or not, especially with a suspicion at least one is using. Comment 2. Not the idiot, you should have told them. Sorry, but this CNT owns the house, not your father. Comment 3. I can't believe they talk to you like that, but then expect to move in. Oh, hell no! Now for the update. It's been a whirlwind past 2 weeks and I desperately need to vent. After I last posted, things somehow managed to escalate even further. My stepchildren, whom I'll call Alex and Sam for simplicity, took their grievance to social media, painting me as the wicked stepmother who's turned their dad against them. I was mortified to see friends and family jump into the fray, taking sides without knowing the full story. Then, 2 days later, we got a call from the local police department. Alex had been arrested for possession. My husband was torn to pieces. He felt like he failed Alex by not providing a stable environment, and he even started to wonder if we should have let them move in. That night, we sat down and had the most heart-wrenching conversation about what was truly best for his kids. We decided to reach out to Alex, extend our support for rehab, and offer to help them both find a place of their own if they committed to staying clean. Things were looking up. We visited Alex, who seemed genuinely remorseful. Sam, on the other hand, refused to meet with us, which stung, but we hoped it'd just take time. Then came the bombshell that floored us. The house that was foreclosed on had been used as a drug den by the ex-wife, and she'd skipped town. Neighbors had complained of suspicious activity, which led to an investigation and the truth coming out. The bank was now pursuing legal action to recover damages because the destruction went far beyond typical foreclosure scenarios. This news broke my husband. It was like the final blow after a heavyweight boxing match. He had worked so hard to move past the financial and emotional turmoil from his marriage, and now it seemed like that dark period was determined to keep its claws in him. We hired a lawyer, but we're bracing for a financial hit. Despite this, we've found a glimmer of hope. Sam finally reached out, apologized for their initial reaction, and asked to take us up on the offer to help find them a place. We've been working together to set that up. It's going to be tough with the new legal issues, but we're determined. I never expected my family life to look like an episode from a gritty drama series, but here we are. And somehow, through the chaos and the heartbreak, I feel like we might just come out stronger on the other side. We're learning to set boundaries, offer help without enabling, and support each other through the worst of storms. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. It takes a big person to extend a helping hand after being dragged through the mud on social media. Offering rehab support for Alex shows you care about their well-being over past grievances. And the fact that you're willing to help Sam find a new place after all the drama, kudos to you for being the bigger person and keeping family first. Comment 2. You're the idiot. Look, I get that you're going through a lot, but it sounds like you're letting these kids walk all over you. They trash you online, and yet you're still offering help? Sometimes tough love is needed. They won't learn if there aren't real consequences for their actions. It's noble to want to help, but don't be a doormat. Comment 3. Not the idiot at all. You're showing true strength and forgiveness by working with Sam despite the challenges. It's sad about the ex-wife's house, but that's not on you. You're focusing on building bridges, not burning them, which is commendable. You're not just trying to fix the situation, you're healing relationships. That's what family is about, sticking together and rising above the mess. Keep that hope alive. Now, for the next story. I, 33-year-old male, find myself in a difficult situation with my surrogate, Maria, 25-year-old female, and I'm wondering if I'm the jerk in this situation. To provide some context, my husband, Roman, 37-year-old male, and I decided to use surrogacy to have a child. We had a legal agreement in place, and Maria was compensated generously for her part in carrying our baby. Everything was going smoothly, and we were excited for our child's arrival. However, around the 8th month of pregnancy, Maria dropped a bombshell. She declared that she no longer wanted to go through with the surrogacy and expressed her desire to keep the child. This sent Roman into a fit of anger, but I managed to get him to step out, and I had a one-on-one conversation with Maria. I reminded her that she had legally signed the documents, and the baby was unequivocally ours, mine, and Roman's. She began pleading with me, but I stood my ground, asserting that this child was my son and not hers. She tried to bargain, saying she no longer wanted the money, but I firmly rejected her request, emphasizing that no one had coerced her into signing those papers. Whether she liked it or not, the baby was ours. To add some financial weight to my argument, I pointed out all the money we had invested in the baby and the substantial amount she received before the pregnancy. I made it clear that if she wanted the baby, she'd have to reimburse us for all of that, something I knew she couldn't afford. I suggested that if she had any more issues, she should speak to my lawyers. But as far as I was concerned, the baby was ours, mine and Roman's, whether she liked it or not. Maria called us cruel and even got her family involved to support her case. Now, I'm doubting whether I'm in the wrong here. Roman supports my stance, but some of my friends and her family are calling me the jerk. So, Reddit, am I the idiot in this situation? Edit. For clarification, she hasn't pursued legal action at all. This was a talk she had with us. Edit 2. We live in California where traditional surrogacy is allowed as well as pre-birth and afterbirth agreements. We have a pre-birth agreement, and by law, the baby is ours, and she knows it. She is asking if we would give up our rights for her to have the baby, which we won't, as the baby is mine and my husband's. There hasn't been pursuit of legal action. She can now only talk through my lawyers. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. People can downvote me all they want. The facts remain. Traditional surrogacy is much more legally complex than gestational surrogacy, because the surrogate is the biological mother of the child. In order for both intended parents to have parental rights for the child, the non-biological intended parent will likely need to complete a step-parent adoption following the baby's birth. Comment 2. Let the courts decide it. Not sure where you're located, but my understanding is that surrogacy is always precarious until the post-birth legal adoption is complete. It's not really about jerks or not, but I hope all 3 potential parents can agree on something that is best for the child. Comment 3. TBH, I think this goes beyond the scope of Am I the Idiot? It was a huge mistake to use a surrogate and using her egg. She is literally giving you her child. I'm glad you have papers, but dang, a legit agency set this up? I kinda wanna say everyone sucks here, as in everything's sad here. Now, for the update. It's been an intense few months since I last posted about our surrogacy situation with Maria. I never expected to be writing this, but here we are. After everything that's happened, I felt it was only right to come back and share the incredible turn of events with you all. Following our initial confrontation with Maria about her wanting to keep the baby, tensions were sky high. We were bracing for a legal showdown, trying to keep our emotions in check, but it was rough. We loved Maria. She wasn't just a surrogate to us, she had become part of our family. The thought of going into a legal battle with her was heartbreaking. However, life has a funny way of teaching you lessons when you least expect it. Maria reached out to us, asking if we could all sit down and have an honest conversation, without lawyers. It was a difficult meeting to agree to, given the fear and hurt we were feeling, but we decided that, for the baby's sake, we needed to try to resolve things amicably. We met at a quiet cafe, and the air was thick with unspoken words. Maria broke down in tears as soon as we sat down. She explained that her desire to keep the baby was driven by a deep fear of feeling empty and alone once the surrogacy was over. She wasn't thinking of the legal ramifications or our feelings. She was scared of losing a connection she'd unexpectedly made. We talked for hours. It was emotional, raw, and more healing than any of us could have imagined. We shared our dreams of becoming parents, the love we already had for the baby, and our fears of never getting to be a family. Maria shared her feelings of attachment and the struggles she was going through. In the end, it was Maria who suggested a solution. She wanted to remain in the baby's life, not as a mother, but as an Auntie Maria. It was a role that would give her a place in our extended family without infringing on the boundaries of our parental rights. We all agreed to go to counseling together to ensure we were setting healthy boundaries and dealing with our emotions constructively. When the baby was born, it was a moment filled with so many emotions. There was Maria, bravely handing us our son, tears in her eyes, and yet there was happiness too. She's been true to her word, visiting as Auntie Maria, showering him with love, and then giving us space to be a family. Our friends and Maria's family have seen the effort we've all put into making this relationship work. The name-calling and finger-pointing have ceased, and in their place, there's a newfound respect for the complexity of human emotions and the power of communication. I never would have believed that in such a short time we could go from potential adversaries to a unique, caring family unit. Our son is surrounded by so much love, not just from us, but from Maria, who has become a true friend and an integral part of our lives. In the end, it turns out we didn't just gain a son, we gained a larger family, and Maria gained a sense of belonging that was different from what she initially thought she needed. It's messy, it's unconventional, but it's our story, and it's full of love. Now, for the comments. Comment 1, not the idiot. It's incredible that you managed to turn a challenging and potentially disastrous situation into a positive one. It shows a lot of maturity to sit down and have an open conversation with Maria without resorting to legal battles. You've not only looked out for the best interest of the child, but also respected Maria's emotional journey. Plus, having Auntie Maria could be a blessing for your child. Comment 2, you're the idiot. I get that the situation worked out, but I'm not entirely comfortable with how this might set a precedent for other surrogate situations. What if Maria's attachment causes issues down the line? It's great to have open communication, but it feels like you may have bypassed some critical legal and emotional boundaries that are in place for a reason. Comment 3, not the idiot at all. You navigated this with grace and empathy, recognizing Maria's feelings and the bond she formed with the baby. What a beautiful resolution to include her as Auntie Maria, which will no doubt enrich your child's life. Counseling to establish boundaries is a smart move too. It's heartwarming to see that love and understanding can create a new type of family structure. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.